Okay, good morning. We're back. And it's Tuesday. It's 9 a.m. And that means it's the Tracey and Joe show.
It's the
You haven't
Tracey
seen
and
us in
Joe
a
show.
while. Yay! We are here with Dr. Tracey Stroup. Yes, one of the nation's leading advocates for health freedom and natural health. Oh, and you have no idea what she's been up to lately. But I think she's going to tell us all about it. And in the meantime, we have a bunch of fun in the news topics we'd like to discuss. Kids, health, shots, you name it, and a great supplement called SPM that you were very instrumental in bringing to the table here, right, Tracey?
Well, I think it was brought up by lots of people in the industry that wanted it. NF was just, a pioneer in it as always. So I was really grateful to have it. I think it's been a game changer. The SPMs, I think they're amazing. I use them all the time. I use them personally. I have a testimony from this weekend of my own father, who was super sick and did the whole protocol and nothing else. And it was awesome. So,
I want you to expand on that. I want you to expand on the alphabet soup. Yeah. Okay, why don't we get right into the alphabet soup? Because that's what we've been calling it here at the Wellness Center. We get everybody that asks, we get them on it. And I know that Judy was, instrumental in the CBD part of it. And then we have the SPM, DMG, and NAC. Alphabet soup. Tell us how that all came to be, Trace.
Yeah. So when I first started talking to Judy, it really was on the, loss of taste and smell. We were trying to map that. And, I'd found an article on G-coupled protein receptors of the brain, which, clearly she understands so much more than I do. So I sent it to her. We discussed it, right? And she was like, oh, that's CB1 pathway. And here's why they lose taste and smell. And then we started talking more. And I have a little bit of an update on that. Which, it deals with the low nitric oxide that we talked about. So we'll come back to that. But that's how it all started. Judy's whole thing was that, we are, and Joe, I know you've said this a million times, deprived of CBD because they've taken it off the market since the 1930s. And so it's like we all have a deficiency in it, right? It's what you consider, what you always, term the 91st essential nutrient. I think you're dead on, right? I think everybody should be on it. And it's been so demonized that people have been afraid of it, especially moms, dads, people that have kids. They'll be like, well, is it safe for my son? Yes, it's safer than the Fruit Loops he's eating for breakfast. Can we just put things in perspective, right? So long story short, her whole thing was, CBD. And then, when we introduced her to DMG, I was like, Judy, have you ever heard of DMG? And we went to the book, Building Wellness with DMG.
Folks, we're talking about Dr. Judy Mikovits, just in case they don't know.
Yeah, sorry. We talked to her like, oh, yeah, she's our best friend. But anyway, long story short, she says, I know Dr. Kendall. So she's, of course she does. Of course she does. So we send her the book and boom, she's hooked. So now it was CBD and DMG. Then when we started to look at the SPMs, I started to research and I found several articles, Joe, on SPMs and COVID. And I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about this? So I send those to her. Now, it's such a blessing to be, to have a friendship with her like that. Also to have somebody at her caliber, her education level, her experience, look at somebody like me, not that I'm not smart, or even someone like you that's super smart, but sometimes not considered like in the medical industry, right? But I said, I told her, I was like, I can read a 19-page research article just the same as an MD, maybe faster, and even understand what it's talking about. Like, not that I'm downing MDs, but I think the indoctrination of the world, which is unfortunate, is if you don't have those letters behind your name, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, there's two things that I'll speak to that point. Number one, somebody finished last in the class and they still get to call themselves doctor. Number two, people aren't dying and dropping over at home, Joe. They're dying in hospitals. So I just want to make those two things very clear, that the system and model that we're using in the allopathic is not working. That's just, it's not working. I'm sorry. So
never has.
We have
when it comes to chronic conditions, it never has.
Sure. Right. And now they're using terms like long hauler, And, the long hauler COVID is just really methylation issues. That's where the DMG comes in, and the destruction of the lung tissue and the destruction of the endothelial tissue, right? The wallpaper around the vessels that carry fluid, blood, urine, all of those things, capillaries, oxygen. That's what happens. So we have all of these things going on. So the alphabet soup was something that I termed because I was watching her on The Truth About Cancer. And she was talking about cancer, but also methylation and this. And I'm listening, and I texted her and I said, so alphabet soup would work as the first line of defense for activating interferon in the purinergic immune system, which are the two things that you have to get the innate to go and the adaptive to go. And I said, if that's the case, wouldn't that be the base protocol? And she was like,
let me ask you one question real quick here. The innate component of the immune system is the one that's getting destroyed.
Yeah,
especially by the jab.
It's getting dumbed down. So the easiest way for someone to understand, I think, would be like, okay, you have a pack of friends that you went out with in your 20s in college, right? And then you always had that one crazy friend that if you left her by herself, she'd be off with somebody, couldn't find her later, like crazy girl, right? So you had your friends keep an eye on her. Like, you're watching Sally. No, you watch Sally. Hey, where's Sally? So Sally's like the innate immune system or the adaptive immune system. Sally gets all out of control without all of these things around her keeping her in check. So what they're doing with the jab is they're injecting right into your bloodstream the spike protein. Okay. So I always love people who put these messages in. Google it there. But here's the whole thing. When we inject right into the bloodstream, right, and we bypass our natural God-given immune system, which is the nasal passage, all the mucosal membranes in there, your tonsils, which are communication, they're the first line of defense. Most people have those removed when they're kids, adenoids. Then we get into the digestive system, all of the receptors in there. Those are your enteric nervous system, not just for food stimulation, but for fight or flight information. So you have something come into your digestive system. It's not supposed to be there, whether it's a food allergen or a virus or a bacteria. Your body's going to be like, hang on a second, this shouldn't be here. Let's tell the brain. So that's the whole communication of sympathetic fight or flight. Let's get things rolling. And parasympathetic. And I think we separate those. We think that sympathetic nervous system has to do with emotions and being scared, but really digestive system processes, whether it's a food sensitivity or a bacteria or a virus, still stimulates it. I'll take a look at it. Hang on a second. So I'm just seeing the messages coming up on the chat. So long story short, we want to understand that fight or flight in the body is a way that our body activates biochemical processes to save our life. That's what they're there for. When they are there too long, they become destructive. So it's kind of like if you're thinking about those negative thoughts, Joe, and you always say attitude of gratitude, right? The point of that is if you're always stinking thinking, you're always in fight or flight. Now we add a virus, or now we add a food sensitivity.
Thinking. That's a good one, Trace.
So
write that one down, Phil.
Stinking thinking.
Okay.
Stop the stinking thinking. Yeah. So, what we were talking about with innate and adaptive is that when they inject it into your blood and it goes around all of that, all of the identification, the neurotransmitter communication, the activation of the immune system, the inflammatory process, all this stuff, your body has a way to check and measure what you need. And that comes through your CB1 pathways, right? Your endocannabinoid system, your methylation pathways, so that your body knows, because I want to talk to you about methylation and babies, where it starts. And then also your specialized pro-resolving mediators. How much resolution do you need? How much inflammation and how much cellular repair? None of that happens in the adaptive. So we need the innate immune system to be part of this, so it can say, whoa, Sally, way too much response. Like, let's back it down. Let's bring her back, right? So we need all of that. And that's where you re-educate your innate immune system with the protocols that we've put in place. It can't cure, treat, or diagnose, but it can help the body understand pathways that were skipped. So let's go back to birth. Pop, there's a little baby, right? Okay. Everybody talks about probiotics in babies. Baby, probiotics. Comes through the vaginal canal, takes into its mouth all of those vaginal fluids, which contain all the mama's microbiome. Okay. So now we have probiotics in the baby. Baby goes to breast, gets colostrum, activates. What's it activating? Adaptive immune system? No, innate. So now it has, then there's a complete methylation reset for baby. This is amazing. Think about twins. Think about it. Do you know Dr. Judy's a twin?
No, I didn't.
Yes, she is a twin, identical. And her sister is not a biochemical researcher. Her sister is not out on the forefront.
She has her own decoy then. When they,
right. She's like, you go that way quickly. So she would never do that. But here's the point. They were born identical. However, the reset was in the epigenetic expression of their DNA. They may look the same. They may have similar traits. But because environmental factors have come in, it really helps tailor the DNA, right? So this is a really important thing that we must understand, that we are not victim to our genetics. We are not victim to our DNA. And here's the other thing. I keep seeing these posts out there. Oh, cheers to all y'all who have their DNA intact. Nobody has their DNA intact, okay? If you live on this earth, your epigenetic expression of DNA is like... So you better get on some DMG for your DNA, because it's really important that we do overcome the expression. So the innate immune system helps educate the DNA transcriptase on what it's going to express. It's really important. Without it, we don't know what we're going to express. And that's the big thing that we're seeing coming up, is like we're injecting into the blood, bypassing the SPMs, the methylation, the probiotics, all of the innate factors, and our expression is either immediate, right? We have an anaphylaxis, we have something like that, or we see it a couple of months down the road where people start getting issues, or they get sick, or they're getting clotting, or all of a sudden they have allergies, or all of a sudden they have migraines, whatever the expression is. Or we're going to see within 24 months of what they're predicting, what does that look like? What is that expression? So here's the voice of hope that Judy and I try to express. Okay, we have been bombarded with a million things. Glyphosate, I mean, go on. I mean, Joe, you can name it, right? Preservatives, additives, BHT, injections into babies since they were little teeny tiny, all of that. We're still here, and we still have found a way to biohack and overcome. I mean, talk about MTHFR mutation, Joe, right?
Right.
We have overcome that. Nutritional Frontiers went and found the most bioavailable folate on the market, boom, put it into their supplements, stacked it with DMG, because they know what they're doing. So it's really important that we understand that we have hope, that this isn't the end, that we can turn off epigenetic expression. Doesn't mean your DNA will ever be the same. I don't know. I don't have those answers. But what I do know is that we have all things here. And if we start now, right now, not next week, not waiting till we get sick, now, then we can help overcome some of the damage.
So let me ask you, so SPMs are endogenous then to the body. So are cannabinoids. So is DMG.
Well, where do you get SPMs in the first place, right? Breast milk, DPA. DPA is the fat in mama's breast milk that starts those specialized pathways of resolving inflammation and repair right from the beginning. Pop out, little baby, boom, SPMs, probiotics, DMG, methylation, all of that is there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then what do? We take that healthy, beautiful, gorgeous baby and we inject it with disease. What is wrong with us? Stop it. Crazy. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
You're right. No, that's great stuff. But I love the fact that these are all endogenous nutrients. Your body's making them. We're resupplying them to the body like we should be doing. I mean, look, CoQ10's endogenous, right? But it's something that we lose over time. So these are the supplements. I mean, maybe we could throw that in with the alphabet soup, a little CoQ. But you can.
But it's also in the CoQ10. It's also in the
because it has DMG, right?
300
Right.
and 300. You could just take that and it would be perfect.
Exactly. Now, NAC is part of your alphabet soup. So bring that in.
Well, NAC does a lot of different things. I like NAC for lung tissue repair, for the chelation of the metals. We know there's graphene oxide that's being injected in here.
Okay.
Also endothelial repair, lung repair. All of these are studies. They're not Tracey's opinion. That you can go to PubMed, Google in N-acetylcysteine or NAC, and you're going to get study after study after study. The issue is there's been so much mysticism around supplements that they don't work or they go right through you. That's true. If you get a poor quality supplement, you really, really absolutely have to go to a place like WOW, right? The World of Wellness, and get your stuff, because you guys only source quality. You want to work with someone that can help you take it. So yes. And, in the chat, feds are allegedly trying to outlaw it. They've been trying to outlaw everything for years. There's a list of supplementation that the feds want to take out because they know it works. But here's the thing. We have ample supply at World of Wellness and ample supply coming out of Nutritional Frontiers. And if you're worried about it, guys, stock up. Stock up. You know what? I mean, 2 years shelf life, put it in the refrigerator, you probably get up to 5. Okay. So, supplements aren't going to lose their efficacy unless you leave them open, or they're in a place where heat or cold can really, or heat can really hurt them. They oxidize. So I keep a lot of my supplements in the refrigerator just to, prolong the shelf life, because there's some things I take every day and some things I take.
DMG is one of those ones that's pretty sensitive.
Hi, Deborah.
It is sensitive. You have to, that's why the chewable DMGs come in a blister pack.
Right.
And the liquid is so liquid's great. But you know what I notice about the Enter CoQ10 is that if you leave it out in the air, in the open air, you'll see it start to like kind of change the color. That's the DMG portion of it. The CoQ is great, still good, but the DMG does, if it's exposed to air or water, we start to lose its effectiveness. So that's
I learned that quickly. I learned that at one of the trade shows when we were popping them open, and I looked in and I'm like, why is this bowl full of water? I mean, so this was interesting. No, I just want to show, it was amazing. Okay. So what is the chemical formulation for water? H2O.
H2O.
Right. Yeah. So H2O. So the DMG, when we put it in the bowl, he was like, wait a second. He's like, take care of the one square.
Something I don't know here. Okay, wait.
I know. I was like, hello, 4th grade, Joe. Come on. H2O. Yeah. Thank you. You got help in the chat. But so I won't throw any more chemistry questions at you. So you got 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. But here was the unique thing. When you put the DMG in the bowl, it pulled water from the atmosphere. Isn't that interesting? So it oxidized by pulling the water out of the atmosphere. So it pulled H2O, pulled oxygen. So what does it do in the body? So what do you need in the body to really activate DMG? Water. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how the foundations planned everything. When we talk about nutrition and hydration and movement and sleep and elimination and emotional wellness, all of this stuff matters, because your supplements are going to work better in a healthy body. So people that got the big C word or got the jab and they're calling me up and they're like, hey, I'm diabetic, type 2, I'm 300 pounds, that person is going to be helped by supplementation. But somebody over here who had a better foundational structure, maybe ate a little bit and got sick, because everybody gets sick, guys. It doesn't mean because you eat healthy and live a healthy life, you're never going to get sick. Of course we get sick. However, it's going to work better in a nutrient-dense body. So this person over here, the person that may have not been as healthy, and there are people that are diagnosed with things that are healthy. Okay. A diagnosis doesn't make you unhealthy. Lifestyle makes you unhealthy. I know many diabetics who control their sugar with diet and live a really healthy lifestyle and did not get the big C word, COVID, and some that did and overcame it very quickly. So guys, foundations matter. They matter. And I know nobody wants to hear that. They just want to be like, well, why can't I just take my supplement? Or, ivermectin's the way. It can be. But I promise you, you'll work better if you have your foundations, straight up. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we talked about the graphene hydroxide hydroxide. Oh yeah, in the jab. Okay. So I don't know who the anonymous chatter is, but we should.
Any other questions up there you want to address before we go forward? Is there anything?
No, go ahead. I'll take them at the end.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I've been seeing some things now where there. I saw an abstract. Let me read this one to you. Abstract 10712. mRNA COVID vaccines dramatically increase endothelial inflammatory markers and ACS risk as measured by a pulse cardiac test. Wow.
So basically that means that this virus comes in and lowers nitric oxide in the blood and destroys the wallpaper around all your vessels. And then let's add some remdesivir on top of it that killed 46% of the people that they tried it on, which destroys more tissue. And so people go into kidney failure and then drown. Duh. And this is our protocol. I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm just going to say it straight up. I'm going to say this, okay? And this is not for every person, but I am going to say it because it needs to be said. I have heard so many people text or call me, and I know that other people that get the same texts and calls, they say, this doctor won't give X to my spouse, my husband, my whatever, because they're not allowed. Or that's not the protocol that's being recommended, so they won't do it. Okay. I can read a study. You can read a study. So if I read the study on remdesivir that said that of the 400 and some people that was tried on, half of them died, wouldn't you be like, maybe I shouldn't give that? Now, here's the bad part, is that these doctors are victim to lawsuits, losing licenses, not getting paid or reimbursed through health insurance, right? I get it. But if it was a choice, this is for me personally, if I was a medical doctor and there was a choice of reading a study and knowing what the outcome could be for somebody and giving them that medication or losing my medical license, I would lose my medical license before I harmed anybody. So I'm really sad about the fact that either these doctors don't know, or they've been put blinders on, or they're getting wrong information, or saying that kind of information is disinformation. I don't remember where I was going with this, but I know I had a point. But anyway, my point to that is, do the right thing. Read the studies. Go outside the box. Don't get reimbursed for once. Take the chance, because I don't really think the allopathic model really sees what's happening. They're taking away their ability to be doctors. Thank you, Tina. Yes. First, do no harm. Nurses, step in with your rights.
I was just thinking that.
Rights. Right?
A couple of years ago, Tracey, we used to complain that they lost or forgot or violated their Hippocratic oath by prescribing so many of these drugs that are killing people. But now this takes it to a whole new level.
It does. And, the nurses that are there, I just had a pediatric nurse come see me of 40 years. She retired. And she said, you know what? She said the old school nurses would never let this happen. She said, we took oaths on the 8 rights of the patient. You know what the last right was? The right to refuse. So it's the right medication, the right amount, the right time for the right person, right? All the rights. She said the last one is the right to refuse. She's like, we were the interim. We were the person between the doctor and the patient advocating, because we were with them every day. And now, what did they do? They threatened all these nurses about getting the jab. Half of them quit. Most of them seniors, right? Senior nurses, people that have been there a long time with a lot of experience because they saw the forest for the trees. Now you get all these new nurses in, not that they're not good, but they didn't have the privilege of doing clinicals with these other nurses who are seasoned nurses. And so you have all these newbies in just following along, marching like good little soldiers. Exactly. Her friend was a nurse and strong enough to walk away. What needs to happen now is we need reformed healthcare, which we can talk about that. And what I talked to Senator Mastriano about, and hopefully Governor Mastriano, and get this other idiot out of your PA. But big things, that we need to change at a level that gives people the right to choose their own medical care. We are so hamstringed by these big insurance companies telling us and the doctors what they can and can't do. I mean, it comes down to a protocol that falls down from the CDC, from people who aren't even clinically practicing, to go onto your insurance policy so they can reimburse the doctor. The doctor looks at that protocol, gives it to everybody. Doop-doo-doo, follow the ball. Can't give ivermectin. Can't give this. Oh, we can't do that. There's no research on it. You know why there's no research on it? Because there's no money in it, because it's not patented anymore by the pharmaceutical companies. So there, I said it. Okay, I'm done.
Right on the money. Right on the money.
Pray over my family today. Everybody pray for my family today.
Yeah, well, good plug for hopefully our next governor, Mastriani. Good paisan. Let's get him in office.
I'm going to give more plugs to him. Everybody needs to donate to his campaign. He is the people's senator, guys. I'm telling you, he knows what's going on. He's a good dude. And I get to speak with him next week. I'm excited.
Because, you know, this study that I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, this was actually
about the vaccine. The mRNA vaccine is, the study showed that it was increasing endothelial inflammation, period. I mean, it's proven. It's right there in black and white.
Right. So but basically, so if you have a vessel, right, like a tube, any tube, so it can be a capillary, an artery, a vein, like whatever kind of tube, it'll have this endothelial tissue around it. That kind of like, it's like wallpaper, keeps it protected, keeps the integrity. So if it stretches, it comes back. It's just a protective mechanism. That spike protein, as Judy has explained to me, comes in and it has those little spikes, right? And when it comes through the bloodstream, those spikes can actually like hit the integrity of the wall and like something like this, split through it. So now you have a damaged endothelial tissue. In order for that endothelial tissue to repair itself, it needs nitric oxide. Well, if you're a low level oxygen because you're sick, or you can't oxygenate, you're going to have low nitric oxide in the blood. And so what starts to happen then, or if the endothelial tissue is trying to repair itself and it's pulling the nitric oxide from the blood in order to repair itself, then what happens is you get clotting, because nitric oxide controls platelet aggregation, or that clotting mechanism, so that your blood stays nice and viscous. So that's where I position CircuCor. That's why, when we position CircuCor, that has Activin in it, which is a patented trademark grapeseed extract that helps with increasing nitric oxide in the blood. Also, we have the beetroot powder. There's been studies on grapeseed extract with endothelial repair. So CircuCor not only has that, but it has the bioavailable active folate in it. So you got methylation, you have grapeseed extract for endothelial repair, and beetroot powder for nitric oxide production, along with L-arginine, right? So we have an L-arginine combined with vitamin D and Activin or grapeseed can increase nitric oxide in the blood. So it was like the sleeping giant. And so people would be like, hey, I got the jab, or hey, I had COVID and I'm having issues, with respiratory or heart or this or that. And I would say, well, let's support those pathways with CircuCor, because it hits all the pathways. And lo and behold, by giving their body the right nutrition, it was like a miracle. A miracle, Joe. Their body came back to homeostasis and they got better.
How about that? Wow.
Miracle.
Yeah, and I think somebody was one of the very first to do a nitric oxide workshop at our Wellness Weeks.
Somebody was Joe Mastino.
Now, here's the thing about nitric oxide. It's a gas that your body produces, and it doesn't stick around long. So you have to keep that process going on a daily basis, or it doesn't just last. It's not a supplement you can take. It's something your body has to make from other nutrients, and then you have to continue making it. So you have to support that process on a daily basis.
Right. Exactly. We have to support every process on the daily basis, right? Your body's going to use things, unless it's AEDK, everything else that you need to do. I mean, your fat soluble vitamins, as long as they're optimal and you have good lymphatic integrity and you're taking enough, like your fat soluble vitamins will stick around a little bit and your body will use them because you have fat everywhere. And if God thought it was important, that's why I put it everywhere. And so fat is very good for you. Even your own fat cells, we don't want to destroy them, burn them, kill them, or suck them out. You need them. Very important. It's kind of like dandelions. God put them everywhere. So they're probably important. Yeah. Of course, they also have your vitamin A in them. Yes, your vitamin C. It's great for digestion, good for immunity. But what do? We spray them with glyphosate, and then we wonder why we're all sick. So my point is, we have to change our perspective of, being afraid of supplementation, thinking that it doesn't work, thinking that our body, will all of a sudden get better if we just give it this pharmaceutical. And I'm not saying we don't need them at times, because we do. We know that Ivermectin worked. We know that it helped modulate that purinergic immune system. But if you can't get it, which seems to be the case in a lot of places, you have to know some alternatives to really help your body. And you have to do enough, guys. Like, you can't just take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and be like, okay, my immune system's great. Like, no, you want to take enough. So.
We do have a few natural alternatives. Ivermectin's an anti-parasitic drug. We have Microgon, which is anti-parasitic on a natural level. It's not as strong as a drug, but it's something that if you do it on a regular basis, who knows, you might get the same benefits. But we have natural alternatives. Yeah.
Well, so the way that Judy explained how Ivermectin worked, and I think she shared it in our live event that we did with Nutritional Frontiers, is that, and I'm trying to think of all the ways to talk about this. When you have a cell, right, and you have a virus come in and it punctures the cell, what's inside the cell is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is our gasoline that fuels mitochondria, and mitochondria are inside the cell. And the mitochondria have to be really healthy so that cell can split into two healthy cells and go repair things. Okay. So what happens is virus comes in, punctures the cell. It does two things. It makes a hole. So now the ATP that's inside the cell gets thrown to the blood. That's the first thing. The second thing is that those RNA viruses use ATP to self-replicate. So your gasoline store is being drained. It's either leaking out of your car onto the road as you're driving down the road, or there's someone driving beside you siphoning it out. Okay, so you got two things going on. You're losing gasoline in two ways. When ATP hits the blood, the purinergic immune system, its job is to send these little scavengers that kind of look like this. They have a stem and a pocket. And so the ATP, and it grabs it. And as soon as it grabs it, your body gets activated to respond with inflammation. That's what it's causing. Boom.
Okay.
Now, the job of this little P2Y receptor is to modulate the right response. Okay. And what happened with SARS-CoV-2 is it punctured the ATP outside. That's called extracellular ATP, got thrown to the blood. These little receptors came out, grabbed it, and we had a cytokine storm. Why is that? Why did we have a cytokine storm? Because we had all MAC1 activity, but not enough macrophage type 2. So macrophage type 1 is like the fire trucks, the machine guns, they're killing everything. They're sending out the soldiers like a war going on. The macrophage type 2 is like the rescue helicopters. It comes down, it carries out the people that are injured, cleans up the place, like it's everything, calms everything down, right? It's like
nobody
the
does
flag.
Visuals like you do,
Okay.
Tracey.
Well, it's like the guy waving the peace flag, like war's over, calm down. Here's the issue. What activates macrophage type 2? You have to have enough SPMs. You have to have the endocannabinoid system that controls the central nervous system, the immune system, your hormone system, the digestive system, all the systems in place. You have to have enough ATP in the cell or in other cells to activate methylation for repair. So what are those? SPMs, CBD, DMG. Those were the things that the body needed. So while ivermectin is great and will modulate for those things to happen, if you are deficient in DMG, SPMs, and CBD, can your body do it effectively? Yeah.
And who's deficient in those nutrients?
Everybody. Because what depletes CBD1 pathway, right? Stress, anything emotional unwellness. What did they do to the whole society? I mean, everybody has PTSD over this thing. They say, oh my God, as soon as they think, they're like, I got exposed, what do I do? I'm like, calm down. That's the first thing you want to do. Like, breathe there, Sally. You know,
calm
like
down,
nothing's wrong. Well, exactly. Then they run and they get tested. Then they come back. They're like, I tested positive. I'm like, were you symptomatic? No. Okay. Well, you're all right then. Like, you know, that would be like, I don't know. I don't even have an equivalent to the PTSD. And I feel bad for these people because they really think they're going to die. It's a terrible thing. It's almost like Munchausen syndrome, right? It's like they think they have the symptoms, but they don't, but they think they're going to die. It's like a really weird form of it. So we have that occurring, and then they get stressed out. Well, stress and sleep, dietary lifestyle, all that stuff deplete SPM, specialized pro-resolving mediators in the body. They cause an excitatory response to the CB1 pathway. Your body doesn't know the difference between a virus, bacteria, and a cheeseburger, or if you're just mentally stressed out. All of that stuff creates inflammation and an inflammatory response. So you have PTSD or stress or fear on top of an infection. We got issues, guys. That's why when they talk about like mind over matter, that people who literally are like, listen, I'm not even going to participate in this craziness of thinking I'm sick. At least that part is under control. Now we can do all the things over here. Because your body is a trilogy. You can't escape your stinking thinking. It follows you everywhere. You know, we've come to a point in our health where we can't out-medicate and out-supplement our poor lifestyle. And we can't out-medicate and out-supplement our poor thoughts. Like, we really have to abide in what God says is that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, we have all the things here. We first have to calm down, get back to our logical thinking, contact people who know, and then put all the things in place. And it is a trifecta of like emotional wellness, spiritual wellness, and physical wellness. And we can't do one over the other all the time. Like, I know people are like, pray for this person. Please understand, I'm a Christian. I believe God has miracles every day. But sometimes it's like people just go all in with prayer. And then over here, there's nothing. Right. And the person is like so scared. So guys, we have to start teaching people the whole triangle. And what's the allopathic model do? They take a person in, they shove them into isolation, no family, nobody can come in. They can look at you through a window. I mean, how does that work on somebody's psyche when you are scared and sick in the hospital? Now you're by yourself and you don't even have your loved ones around you to help you. How is that health? How is that health? What are we doing? Sorry.
It's not.
My angry Tracey came out. Like,
no, it's sickness. There's nothing healthy about healthcare. I'm sorry. That's just the bottom line. There's nothing healthy about healthcare, especially in this country. Like Robert Scott Bell says, most dangerous thing in America is a really good health insurance plan. And that's why, because it's not about health. Right. It's about sick, treating sick, and staying sick. I still think it's amazing that people need to understand that your alphabet soup protocol is all our nutrients that are already given to us. They're in our body. Our body makes them
at birth.
Right?
Birth.
At birth, you make SPMs, you make DMG, right? You
have an endocannabinoid system.
Yeah, endocannabinoid system in your body. Is CBD safe for kids? Do they have an endocannabinoid system? Yes, it is.
Safer than Fruit Loops. I'm just going to say it.
Yes. And then, I mean, the one that our body that can't make without a little bit of help from Mother Nature, D3, right? From the sun, nature supplies it.
Well, is the sun everywhere? Yes.
Everywhere. Yeah.
That's right.
Some places more than others.
And what organ on your body helps produce vitamin D in the body?
Yes.
Your skin. It's everywhere. But what did they make you believe? What did they make you believe? Joe?
And cholesterol. You can't make it without cholesterol.
That's right.
Let's destroy that.
But the sun is bad and cholesterol is bad, so we got to destroy those.
Destroy them.
Honestly. Catch up allopathic model. It's really embarrassing at this point. So embarrassing.
I know.
Nobody knows about the Flexner report. I think that's the problem. That's the issue. If people knew about the Flexner report and how it changed the medical model, I think we could all do a reset. I just want a reset button, like, boop, let's just start over. As Dr. Sherry Tenpenny says, let's bulldoze the whole allopathic model into a big canyon and destroy it and just start over, because we need a reset, and take the Flexner report out and throw it away.
Yeah, we need a reset, but not the kind they want.
Yeah, our own reset. Yeah. Listen, they didn't make these words up, all right? We made these words up. I said reset back before 2018 when we wrote magazines on it in NF. Like, reset was all about resetting the mind, resetting the nutrition, the foundations of health, resetting your belief system, the indoctrination, just erase all that. And then all this hit, and all of a sudden it was like new normal, the great reset. No, you don't get to steal words just because you were second, you know, and they had better advertising, whatever. I said it first.
It's always fun, Trace. It's always fun. You know, me and you used to do this on the radio once a week.
I'll try to calm down. I'll try to I'll behave.
All right, why don't you get to some of the questions? There's a lot of them.
Okay.
That we haven't
I can only see one stream. Hang on,
Phil.
Let me see if I can.
What do we got question-wise that needs answered?
We just have that one from the glucose to aminoglycans. Supplements to reduce.
That would be a Judy question, but I promise I'll text you and I'll come back and answer that question, because I'll ask Judy. You know, there's a lot of things on the jab, right? And like I said, I do not follow the pathway of deaf doctors. I don't follow big YouTubers or big influencers that are speaking death. I bind them in the name of Jesus, because I'm over it. I'm so sick of hearing these people out there saying, you're all going to die, and I don't know if you're going to heaven if you take the jab.
I'm sick of the word. I hate when someone even says the C word.
I'm just done with it all.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't give it any more energy.
Well, here's the thing. We're all going to die.
I got COVID. I didn't get COVID. Stop saying it.
Stop participating. Well, I think, listen, there's fear on both sides. That's the whole thing. Okay. And what you fear, you will give power to. That's the biggest thing that people have to understand. What you fear, you give authority and power to over your life. You fear a virus, is you're going to get authority and power to it over your life. You fear a jab, you're going to give authority and power to it over your life. You know, you should fear God. Walk in that reverence. Fear him. Go seek him and what he wants you to do, and then walk that path. Because here's the big thing. We all end up in the same place. We're all going to end up in a box in the earth or a little urn on somebody's shelf. We're all going to die. And where you go after that is not up to anybody standing here on this earth. I don't care how many followers they have. It's up to him. So I'm just going to preach it, because I'm tired of hearing people say all of this stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Glyphosate can kill you. Okay. Mm-hmm. BHT can kill you. Xenoestrogens can kill you. Everything can kill you that is not made by God and was not in the Garden of Eden. If it's not in the Garden of Eden, don't eat it. Don't put it in your body. Do your research. Seek ye first. That's what we're supposed to do. But everybody thinks that's weird because we're so far away from God. And this is what happens. So welcome to it. That's where we are. So stop following people that are going to tell you you're going to die or lose your salvation or whatever they're saying, because it's wrong. They don't have the authority to say that. Nobody knows the day of your death except for God himself. So there. Sorry, Joe. I know you're not a whole Jesus follower.
That's okay, because, you know,
and this is my hour.
Very close to that is the Godfather. So, you know.
Right. That's right. I'll follow him. Yeah. So you and I have been saying this forever. There is hope. There's always hope. You know, the whole thing is that God always makes a way. If we think like somehow he's absent right now, like, oh yeah, sorry about the Garden of Eden, and I made a way there for you, but I won't make a way here. We're all so scared of death. We're all so scared of death that on both sides of it, we're all cowering, all of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be truthful. If God told me to take a jab to go on a mission trip somewhere for him, I'd do it. Because it's for him. I don't worry about what people down here think. I don't worry about this life. It's this much. It's temporary. Poof, you're gone. And then it's over. So my whole point is I watch these people out there scare the crap out of everybody on both sides.
Yeah. Fear is the great controller. Fear is the great controller.
And you know what? If you're making a decision because you've listened to a person, wrong decision.
Especially if that is Dr. Fauci. Fauci. Right. Dr. Fauci. Did you get RFK's book?
I have not.
The
yet.
real Dr. Fauci?
No, but I talk to Judy all the time, so I think I probably I probably get it. But you know what? I just want you to understand, like Judy Mikovits, she speaks hope. She does. She says, as a scientist, she said, you know what? We may have created things that people misuse. We may have created things we weren't supposed to. She's like, but we can create things that, you know, people can use really well. And she's like, and we have, and we do. And she says the same thing. We have all the things. We have them all.
Yeah, it's a good, but you should get it. You know, this book's about this thick, and most of it is references. He documents everything he says in that book, so I don't see how in a world of justice this guy can still be walking around.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, there has to be evil in order to be good. I mean, and that's the hard thing that people
can't have
don't
light
understand.
without the dark.
Well, it's the hard thing that people don't understand is that, you know, I always go back to the fact of like, God could have killed Satan, but he didn't. There's that. He left him live. Why'd he do that?
Because he likes battle. Didn't you see Archangel Michael? Battle.
That's right. But that's what Lucifer was. He was an archangel. He can't create anything, can't do anything. So he needs his little cronies down here to do it for him. And people are more than happy to do it because money is the God that they serve. So, you know, you have someone like Fauci, and I think Robert F. Kennedy, he writes tremendous books. He always researches everything. That's the thing about him is that you will always find the trail back to the proof. And for people that want to read that, awesome. You know, so I know I make people mad with all my talk about, hey, you know, I'm not going to follow the jab sequence. I'm just not, you know, I am not bound by fear in any way. It just doesn't scare me. I'm okay. You know, if I die, I'm okay. I mean, obviously I don't want to ever, but if I do, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I know where I'm going. Yeah. And that's the thing. We have to stop fearing death. We all go through it. It sucks to do it, but we have to stop making decisions based on it. We got to make decisions based on truth and education and, you know, making decisions that work in our own lives. It should always be choice. I would never take it voluntarily. I wouldn't march my kids up to take it, but it should still be a choice. We shouldn't be able to tell somebody else not to, you know, and we shouldn't have to tell people that we do. And I've got involved with a group here in my area called Lions of Liberty. They actually started out of Penn State University, going against the mandates that are going there. So they've asked me to be their spokesperson. And next week we are going to a rally in Harrisburg where Senator Mastriano will be emceeing that. So I am speaking there on medical freedom because that's what it should be. I mean, any procedure that can kill you, you should have a choice. Just say you should have a choice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what my question is, if they dropped all the mandates, if they overturned the mandates for healthcare workers, what happens to these nurses that already lost their jobs?
I know. It's just, it's terrible. Last year's hero, this year's villain is what happened. And, you know, I really think it was a way for them to sweep out all of the educated, not that people that are still working on educated. I don't want to make it sound like that. But these people that knew, these nurses that knew, these doctors that knew, they were like, hang on a second. You know, first, this is wrong. It should always be a choice because we took an oath to uphold that choice, informed consent, right? They knew that. That was the very first thing that they were trying to protect was actually what they were taught. The second thing was that they did their research and they came back to the conclusion of like, no, thank you. I don't think I need this. I've been working in this atmosphere for a year without it. I'm okay. Some of them had it. Some of them had titers, right? They were immune to it, antibodies. So they were like, oh, I'm good. Right. And then the third people were just like, heck to the no, I don't trust anything that doesn't have an FDA approval and is still in an experimental use. And I'm not injecting it into my body. Thank you very much. It's not that they were some sort of conspiracy theorist. It wasn't that they weren't educated. They were well educated and they made a decision to say no. So yes, there should be retributions made to them. Yes. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about discrimination and injustice. Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, they exercise their right by saying no and losing their job, but then the mandate is lifted. What happened to their job? I mean, it's just something here isn't connecting, but we'll see what happens. It's always changing. It's never boring.
Never. So I just hope that there is something. I mean, it's just, I don't even have words when I start from the top down of the stupidity that has rolled down. you know, and I always say, you know, crap rolls downhill. So, and it sure did. So.
It sure did. Wow. Well, this was fun, Trace. We should do this more often.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna ask people to go to, if you're in Pennsylvania, we need a change and we need a radical one. It starts in the blue states, guys. Yeah. Go to Senator Mastriano's page and give him support. You know, the big thing is that.
What page? Web page?
Yeah, that's Senator Doug Mastriano. He has a page, and you can just look it up. Give him some support, guys. I mean, honestly, we want him to run for governor. He is the senator, people's senator, and it doesn't have to be a ton of money. It can be $10. If everybody would give $5, $10, you know, to help him, because he's just an average guy. He was a colonel. Like, he's an amazing man, and he really does know what's going on. So. Anyway, I don't really ever talk about political stuff ever.
Is fightforpa.com, is that his
There's
site?
lots of ones. No, I would just go to Senator Doug Mastriano.
Well, I typed it in and that's what it brought up first. Doug Mastriano, fightforpa.com.
Yeah, great. Do that then.
There you go. Doug Mastriano, yeah.
Yeah, his looks like
and
this.
Paisan.
Yeah, it's a Paisan. So right there. That's his page.
All right, great.
You know, if you go there, then there's lots of other connect groups in each county. So just giving him some support. I mean, he's really been traveling around, working hard. So, and we appreciate it.
Boy, what a godsend that would be to get him in office after what we've had. Wow.
Well, I mean, he can speak to all facets. I mean, he's a retired colonel. He's served our country. He was an average guy. Like, you know what I mean? He understands the hardship and he believes in choice. So that's the big thing, is that we should all have a choice when it comes to our body and our medical procedures that we're injecting into it. Thank you, host. Exactly. Thanks, Phil. Host.
Okay, Trace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Yeah. Let's do this more often. All right.
Well, have me back.
Tracey Stroup, everybody. Dr. Tracey Stroup. Hey, you are out there. You know, what animals were making noise out in the sticks out there?
That's my two birds.
Is that your bird? Your two birds?
Yeah. They don't do one thing all day long except sit in that cage until I'm on some sort of Zoom, and then they're squawking in the back. At least it was a bird. All right, guys. God bless you.
Thanks, Trace. See ya.
See ya.
Live long and prosper.